What's going on, family? We have another question today for Coach Andrew. This is a question from our friend on the internet, and he says that he struggles to find his passion. He's been trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do for a living. He's been trying to find good hobbies like weightlifting, fitness. He's been trying a bunch of different things to try to find basically his calling in life, right? He wants to know what he should be spending his time doing, where his heart is, where his mind is. And what he described is a situation where he's continually hopping between different careers, hopping between different hobbies. He'll get really passionate about something, maybe spend a bunch of money, spend a week researching it. He'll try it, he'll maybe last about a month, and then he'll quit and move on to something new. And his question is basically, how do I find where I actually belong? None of this seems to be working out for me. How do I know when I have found my passion, and how do I stick to it? So the first thing I want to point out is some of the words that he used. And one of the sentences said, "I can't." And another sentence said, "I always." And the first thing that you have to do when you're trying to interpret your own past, you're trying to interpret your own story, your actions, your thoughts, is to look very closely at the language that you're using. Words have power. And people who are successful and have a path in life are people who use words to describe their life, to build their life, to create their life. Other people use words to create excuses, to give themselves buffer space, right? To make room for their mistakes. They use words to describe their life as they would like others to see it, sometimes downplaying themselves as victims. If you say things like, "I can't," you're immediately removing your responsibility. You're removing your power, and all of a sudden the situation is not as much of your fault as it could be. This is mostly subconscious for a lot of people. A lot of people do not realize how much they actually play this game with wordplay. And the things you say will define your perspective. The words that you use will define your perspective on your own life and on the world around you. And your perspective will define your thoughts, and your thoughts will define your actions, and your actions will end up defining your character and ultimately your destiny. So the first thing I would do is change the words you're using, change the way you are viewing your past and the way you are viewing the things that you've already tried. View them as experiments, right? View them as experiments with a null hypothesis. You proved your null hypothesis, and it's okay to move on. When you look at your life and the things that you try, the things that you do as a science experiment, and you kind of view the world through a scientific method perspective, you begin to realize that there is tremendous value in negative outcomes, because even as a scientist, you might do 1,000 studies and 999 of them will turn out to be a null hypothesis. There's no result, right? You tried something and it didn't work. You have to realize that that's very valuable. Read about Thomas Edison and read about how many times he tried to make a light bulb before he finally got it. And it might seem like, oh, there was thousands and thousands of wasted experiments, wasted time, but those were not wasted. By doing that and completing that process, you realized there was nothing there. You realized that that particular path did not work, and it was okay to move on to the next one. You have to view your life this way. And if you're shuffling through passions, you're shuffling through hobbies, through careers, understand that each of these negative outcomes is information, and there's a lot of power in that information. So now you've started to change the way that you think and talk about these issues. Now I want you to change the way that you handle them. A problem that a lot of people experience is that when they're trying something new, they don't try it correctly. They don't try it to its fullest extent. When people pick up weightlifting, right? January starts, they set a resolution, they go to the gym, they say, "I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna get fit." They walk into the gym, ready to go, but they have no idea what they're doing. They have no clue what they're doing. They're doing things wrong. They're not getting the results that they want. They're gonna end up injuring themselves if they keep doing it. And all of those things add up to a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And eventually you just give up because you don't know what you're doing. You feel like it's not working, and you probably don't know that you're doing everything wrong. You just feel like a failure because nothing's working. And that's when those words come in and you tell yourself, well, this just isn't for me. I can't do this. This isn't working. And it's easy to just give up and move on. So my biggest suggestion for you is to revisit those careers you tried, revisit those passions you tried, and really ask yourself, did I do this right? Did I try this hard enough? Did I put enough effort into this? Did I use a correct system or methodology? And odds are a lot of the things that you tried, you just weren't doing right. You didn't have proper instruction, you didn't read enough, you didn't have a program to follow, you didn't have a step-by-step process to follow, and that can result in really, really bad results, right? Back to the scientific method metaphor. If you're trying to get a result, right, a negative or a positive result, if your methods are bad, the whole experiment is pointless. That is wasted time. If you don't design your experiment correctly and you don't account for all the factors that go into achieving that result, you're going to mess it up and your result's going to be worthless. And the worst part is, if you don't know and if you don't realize and you don't do peer review, you're going to have no idea. You're going to have no idea that your result is bad, and all of that work will be wasted. So the easiest way to get through this is to find someone who has done what you're trying to do before, right? If you want to pick up weightlifting, if you want to pick up a new sport, if you want to start trying to learn music, find someone who has done it before, have them guide you, learn from them, find a teacher or a mentor, or at the very least go on YouTube, watch a bunch of tutorials, find some articles to read, create a process or a program that you can follow and stick to it. Most people just don't try hard enough. They just don't put in enough effort, especially with things like fitness. You can go in, you can lift some weights, you can get a little sore, you can feel this way or that way. But ultimately, if you're not really pushing yourself, if you're not trying things that are genuinely difficult and overcoming real challenges, you're not going to get that sense of fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from making progress. Fulfillment comes from growing. Humans are hardwired. We're built to grow. We're built to overcome difficult challenges, to do new things. If we keep repeating the same things over and over, we won't get fulfillment from that. So the goal is improvement. And if what you're doing is not improving, either because you're not trying hard enough, you're telling yourself the wrong things, or you're not following a real process and you're doing it wrong, you will miss out on that fulfillment. I believe a lot of things in this life can become a passion if you grow. If you can continually get better at it and identify your weak points and identify the challenges and create strategies that you can execute to get better and grow stronger and overcome, that process is what brings you fulfillment. And the fulfillment is what we interpret as passion, right? It's that feeling that we have meaning, that we're getting somewhere, that something is working. If you don't give something enough time, if you don't use the correct methods, and if you're just lying to yourself about things, you will not be able to perceive that fulfillment, and you will not be able to perceive a passion when it is right in front of you. Really hope that helps, bud. If you have more questions, you guys can submit them to the email down in the description. If you're interested in learning more about my services or products, you can check out my website. That link is also down in the description, as well as my other platforms. I will see you guys in the next video. As always, have a nice day.